to the Take Your Power Back show with Peak Performance Breakthrough Coach Kim Yeater. Today's empowering program will encourage you to step into your power, to take action in your leadership, and allow your voice to be heard. Listen in today as we speak to other freedom-loving Americans that are making a positive impact in the world by standing in truth amid adversity. Learn how to take your power back in your freedom, in your personal and professional life, in technology and creativity, and in your faith. Be inspired, be encouraged, be transformed. Together, let's take your power back with our host, Peak Performance Breakthrough Coach, Kim Yeater.
In Jesus' name. Well, hello there, my freedom-loving patriots. Welcome, patriots, truth seekers, and freedom fighters to another explosive episode of your Take Your Power Back show. Operation Clean Sweep. Yes, you've heard it before. Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3. Today, Operation Clean Sweep. This is mortgage fraud. And I'm telling you, we're focusing on the special today of mortgage fraud. You've heard it. Trump has been shouting loud and clear, Letitia James. I'm telling you, what you sow, you shall reap. We are pulling no punches today. I'm your host, Kim Yeater. We're diving headfirst into the swamp of systematic corruption, exposing the schemes that have been fleecing the American people for far too long. So buckle up because it's about to get hot. And we are joined by a fearless whistleblower who has been shouting from the rooftops about the rampant bank and mortgage fraud, fueling a web of transnational corruption. Kat Espinda, bank and mortgage fraud expert, spokeswoman for Crosscheck USA, and the visionary creator and founder of One New Earth. Now, you all know federal whistleblower, retired assistant chief Shawn Taylor of Millersville, Tennessee as well. He was with us with Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3. Shawn has been connecting the dots for 16 years with a 60-year murder board, exposing how hundreds of billions, possibly $1 trillion in fraudulent mortgages are funding racketeering, paying off corrupt elected officials, and driving everything from election fraud to human trafficking cover-ups. The evidence is undeniable, and the stakes couldn't be higher. And if that wasn't enough to shake the system, just yesterday, the Trump administration dropped a bombshell. You've seen it on the news, referring to New York Attorney General Letitia James for possible prosecution over allegations of mortgage fraud. Yes, that is mortgage fraud, Letitia James. Yes, you heard that right. The very person who's been pointing fingers might just be caught in the same web of deceit she claims to fight. Is this the spark that ignites the fire of accountability? We're about to find out. Over the past 3 decades of Operation Clean Sweep, we've laid bare the evidence of election fraud, voter fraud, geopolitical maneuvering, gentrification, and human trafficking cover-ups, all linked by the slimy tentacles of mortgage fraud. Today, we are revisiting the heart of this beast. Americans, hardworking Americans, have been robbed because of this mortgage fraud. And here to break it down in bite-sized pieces is Kat Espinda today. Now, Shawn Taylor was planning on joining us this morning, and unfortunately, there was a family emergency. I want you to keep the Taylors in your prayers. They're going to be fine. God is with them, but keep them in your prayers. So today, Kat is bringing the receipts, and we're connecting every dot to show you how deep this rabbit hole goes. This is about taking our power back, exposing the truth, and holding the corrupt accountable. So grab your notepads. Patriots, this is one episode that you cannot afford to miss. Now, before we bring Kat into the Take Your Power Back showroom, we're going to take a moment to thank our sponsors who make the Take Your Power Back show possible. And our first sponsor up, which we're so grateful for, is Mike Lindell of MyPillow. And if you haven't been paying attention to the great exposure and awakening that's happening, that election fraud that we've been exposing on this side, that patriots around the country have been exposing, well, I think Mike Lindell is being vindicated because it's all coming out and the Trump administration is bringing it. So let's take a moment to thank our sponsor who makes the Take Your Power Back show possible, Mr. Mike Lindell.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented MyPillow. MyPillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
I love it, Mike Lindell. I'm telling you, the My Pillow is a game changer. You know, some of you were asking me the question, can you bring such great news to the table? You know, but why do you have these commercials? Guys, I want you to understand that we patriots, everybody that you see that is bringing the truth to the table, we fund ourselves. Yes, we have sponsors. The sponsors are why we're able to bring this your way. So definitely support our sponsors and support the TakeYourPowerBackShow.com. You can personally make a donation of $1, $2, whatever you give creates the space to keep freedom alive. Now, one more sponsor I really want to recognize. They are Patriots Buying American. That's right. It's Patriots Buying American. And why Patriots Buying American is so key is we are taking our power back from the big box retailers. You see, we're exposing Procter & Gamble, Colgate and Palmolive, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, those big box manufacturings that fed into the Costcos and the Amazons, all those stores that stayed open in the midst of COVID when all the mom and pop shops had to shut down. You see, those big box retailers have junk in the trunk, and that junk in the trunk they're heavy metals, they're parabens, alcohol, sulfates, triclosan, quaternary disinfectants. They are poisons. Your skin is the biggest organ of your body. What's on that skin within 26 seconds hits the bloodstream. It's now time for you to take your power back. Make the switch just like we did with patriotsbuyingamerican.com. We will guide you to the resource that USA Today just named America's best brand. And that was after thousands were brought to the table, and this Patriots Buying American resource won. So go check it out today. For your virtual tour, go to patriotsbuyingamerican.com. Get your never ever hormone or antibiotic black label beef there as well. patriotsbuyingamerican.com. And without further ado, I'm going to pop this up. I want to give you a visual. Visuals are always nice. patriotsbuyingamerican.com. Take your phone out, scan that QR code. That way it pops up for you on your phone. That's patriotsbuyingamerican.com. Now, without further ado, I have a very special guest. Guys, I feel blessed. I've brought her into our national calls. She is a wealth of information. Kat is bringing the receipts today. Her name is Miss Kat Espinda. She is an absolute rock star. She is bringing to light the bank fraud and the mortgage fraud. She tells it all. She is a woman standing in the truth. She was retired from 26-year career and fighting for the children in 2021. In her journey, she began much research and discovered systematic mortgage fraud taking place and decided to challenge the banks and the system. She is committed to exposing the truth of what happens in the background and how it ties into election fraud and all types of other fraud tied to our government. Let me welcome her into the room. Miss Kat Espinda, a blessing to have you here today. Oh, let's get you unmuted, sister.
Oh dear. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're unmuted. You're good. You're good.
Okay. How you doing,
Hey,
sister?
good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate you.
You know what? You're amazing, Kat. I want you on the show because, it's funny. You really are the expert in this area. So when I made that connection with you and Shawn Taylor, Shawn was so grateful because he was like, oh my gosh, this is an area that I've dug deep into. I mean, he has the tentacles, all the dots connected. So you were able to fill in some of those blanks. So that was really, really powerful. So Kat, we got to learn a little bit about you. And I think before we dive on in and connect the dots with Letitia James, the Trump bombshell that just got exposed, I want to pull up a little video. And this is a Fox video with, I believe, Laura Lindgren. And she's the bomb. And she's got somebody on there that's going to share with us about that mortgage fraud. So let's just take a little bit of a moment to expose this video. Stand by. I'm going to pull that up. And let's get this baby playing.
It's important that attorneys general representing our respective states stand up and enforce the rule of law. The president of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the.
And now the Trump Justice Department may be a pain in her you-know-what. The angle has obtained shocking allegations leveled by the Trump administration against New York Attorney General Letitia James. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has sent a criminal referral to the DOJ accusing James of mortgage fraud. In a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director Bill Pulte says James appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. He cited a property in Virginia that she's allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York that she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of the required, instead of a 5, which Pulte says means she was able to get a different type and more favorable loan. Joining me now is Jonathan Turley, Fox News contributor and law professor at GW University. Jonathan, mortgage fraud is rampant in the United States. There's all sorts of fraud that's rampant. There's disability fraud that they've vowed to crack down on in the Trump administration. But this is another thing that they have vowed to crack down on because it costs real money. Your reaction to these allegations?
Well, obviously, the irony is perfectly crushing. This is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. And among the charges that were brought in New York, in not just the civil but the criminal case, was making false or misleading statements to financial institutions. And one of these sections, Section 1014, of the federal code is prosecuted. It took me about 60 seconds of a search to find cases that the Department of Justice brought against people who falsely claimed that property was their principal residence in order to get loans. So this is well-tread areas for the Justice Department. As for James, if we apply the Letitia James standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward. What the administration is saying is this was not her principal residence. In fact, as a New York elected official, she had to say that her principal residence was in New York. This was an out-of-state residence. residence. But also they claim that in some of these forms, she actually states that her father is her husband in order to file as a married couple. So there's a lot of those questions. And as you know, the Supreme Court just stated earlier in March in a case called Thompson that they want to see knowing false statements under sections like 1014, not just misleading statements. These are misleading statements. Either it's your principal residence or it's not.
Or it's not.
Either you're married to your father or he's your father. So they can this can satisfy the Thompson standard.
Yeah, well, Jonathan, we reached out to the DOJ and they have no comment on this referral. We also reached out to Attorney General James, who did not respond to us either. So again, everyone wants the best interest rate you can get. I understand that. But, you know, she's a lawyer. She knows that when you sign a mortgage application, that mortgage application, if you're borrowing money, if you're not borrowing money, nobody cares whether it's your principal residence, except, you know, where you file your taxes. But she decided to state that that was her principal residence, knowing it was not her principal residence. I didn't even know she had property. I mean, I guess she had property in Virginia and she has rental or investment property in New York. That's fine. But in the New York matter, to get the favorable rate, the building could only have 4 units, but for it looks like its entirety, the entirety of this building, it had 5 units, meaning it was in violation of the actual loan agreement. And again, this is not a novel application of the law, Jonathan, as you stated during the persecution of Donald Trump. She was using all these novel applications of law to go after him. This isn't novel. This is a black and white issue. You either did or you didn't.
Right, and this has been prosecuted in the past. Now, we have not heard her side of this, but these documents themselves are quite damning. It's hard to see how the residences listed were her principal residence. The business about her father is just bizarre. Now, I'll note that one of the things that Letitia James stressed in her case against Trump is that Trump had to review documents that were filed in his name. And so she dismissed the argument that this was something that Trump's people put together. She said he's ultimately responsible. So they allege that she gave a power of attorney in a couple of these instances, but according to her own standard, that's not enough.
Well, Professor, the referral cites the case against the former Baltimore City prosecutor, Marilyn Mosby, because she was sentenced to a year in home confinement for lying about her finances to make early withdrawals from retirement funds during COVID, and then fraudulently claimed that her own $5,000 was a gift from her then husband as she closed on a Florida condo. So the idea that again, this is just no one ever goes after politicians for these types of, which may seem like small amounts, and they add up.
They do, and this is really for James. The very case that she most famously brought. She insisted that these technicalities matter and that the powerful should not be given a free pass. Well, that bill has come due in this case. She's going to have to deal with this filing. I'm honestly just not sure how you defend against this unless you say that these are fraudulent documents.
Jonathan, I have to raise this because the Democrats, you know, when this really starts to blow up, which it should after the show, they're going to say, look, aha, see, this is a revenge presidency. They're weaponizing the DOJ against Democrats, so it's a tit for tat. Do you see that as a potential vulnerability here?
Well, we are certainly living in that age, but the fact is James herself rejected that argument made when she brought, in my view, a ludicrous case in New York. That case was something that ultimately resulted in a grotesque ruling. By the way, the timing here is not good. We're waiting for the appellate decision to come down. It's been a very long time. Each day we're looking for the appellate court to issue the review. Many of us expect that it will not go well for James, but having this pop up in the news just couldn't be great for her team. I'm sure they are really in a very tight fetal position right now.
Letitia James, this is crazy. All right, so Kat, you have got to connect the dots. Connect the dots for us, because from what we learned about in Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3 with Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor, who is hired by Millersville Police Department to expose the mass corruption in Tennessee. And we found the tentacles go out to China, Ukraine, the BRICS nations, and Canada. Let's bring it home. Good old Letitia James and mortgage fraud. Connect the dots for us, Kat.
Okay. Well, you know what they do, it's basically rules for thee, but not for me. And in the system, we have all kinds of fraud going on. We've got election fraud, we've got bank fraud, we've got mortgage fraud. In fact, this whole United States of America corporation is fraudulent. And people, this goes back a long time. And I did a video on it, on how the banks steal from you from A to Z. Now, in Letitia's case, this is just a classic case of projection. She projects what she is doing. These people are literally actors that are fooling the people over the tell-lie vision, which tells lies to your vision to cast a spell on you, the sheep, EWE. And what she has done, all of this finagling, you know, falsifying records, you know, saying she was married to her dad, and you know, even though that there's no proof that she married her dad. I mean, who would? But all of this finagling is allowed as long as you are part of the club, and it's a big club, and we are not in it. So they are allowed to do all kinds of fraud and finagling and getting this loan here, that loan there. They get all kinds of benefits for being a puppet in the system. But the condition is that they have to do what master tells them to do. And so as long as they're willing to do that and to harm people, to injure people, to steal homes, to steal cars, to use the so-called law against the people, against Donald Trump, when they're not even using law, they're using codes, statutes, mandates, ordinances, policies, procedures, rules, regulations, RCWs, 11 million plus to create invisible chains so that we are never free. And the ones that stir the ship are the lawyers, the attorneys, the judges. They are stirring the ship in this maritime admiralty law system that we live in, and people don't know it. They don't teach us to this in the Rockefeller school system they call school these days. It's all conditioning and programming. They don't teach us about finances. They don't even teach basic skills in school. In fact, in my area, over 50% of the children are failing. So, you know, what's really going on here? There's something much deeper going on. And this is my problem with this story that they have about mortgage fraud, because it's true. She lied to be able to, you know, she's supposedly living here and she's not. That was the part that Shawn Taylor connected, you know, politicians using addresses of, and there's not even a home there. You know, I mean, it's just like, well, that home wasn't even built when you said it was your primary address. So the problem with these stories, I feel like, is that mortgage fraud is actually becoming a hot ticket item. People are starting to understand and realize with their real eyes what's really going on. This story of mortgage fraud that they're talking about. So if I go onto Google, or if I go onto DuckDuckGo and I type in mortgage fraud, the first thing that's going to come up is this case, right?
Yes, it's everywhere.
Right. And Laura Ingraham had mentioned, you know, how she lied on her application, you know, lied about being married. There's these lies that, and then she got approved based on all of these
and
lies.
she got approved.
Right. So there's obviously some incompetence going on at whatever banks, mortgage lenders, or maybe it's not incompetence. Maybe there are people at the top in the banks who allow these things to go on with their brotherhood. And so what I'm teaching as far as mortgage fraud is how the banks steal from us, steal from the people. And when I look at a story like this, and my story is, I feel like one of the biggest stories in the country, because if everybody really knew how deep the fraud goes, they would be in the streets with pitchforks.
Wow.
But the problem is that people are so conditioned and brainwashed, and this is a long game plan. This is what we call, in this fraud that is going on, I would liken it to Babylonian magic. The art of creating money out of nothing. And just recently, Elon Musk was talking to Ted Cruz in an interview, and he told Ted Cruz that we have in our country 14 magic money machines that are just issuing payments.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're issuing payments. That's all they do. This is what they have. They've created a system where they can print and create as much money as they want. They can give it to whoever they want. They can loan it to whoever they want. They can pay. They can create $2.5 million worth of blackmail money to whoever they want. So as long, and a lot of these people that are in our system, in our government, in our legislatures, are part of what I call the uniparty, the rhino party. And they're doing everything they can to manipulate the narrative so that people never really understand or overstand the truth. We've got to get back to a world of truth. And what Letitia's doing is obviously full of lies, right? She's a liar. She's a con artist.
As it appears.
She's committed fraud in not just these ways. I guarantee you, if something comes out in the open, that just means there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. I like
follow the money. This all let's take a jaunt down Act Blue. Shawn Taylor lays all of this out in Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3. And I just want to throw this out there. If you guys have not seen this, it's imperative, because everything that Kash Patel is exposing right now, what's it being exposed with Doge, USAID, all of this was broken down in bite-sized pieces in the 16-year murder board by Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor. So it is imperative. I want you guys to watch these, make this a plan, because this is going to empower you with how to take your power back on that local level. Kash Patel has been talking about the RICO case, the power of utilizing RICO, right? That's what Shawn has been teaching. And they have a big RICO case right now. So go to rumble.com later on today. Go to rumble.com / the letter C, and then / take your power back show. You'll see Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3 there. And you'll hear from Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor and the Assistant Attorney, Bryant Kroll. Kat, back to you.
Okay. So again, it goes back to all of this fraud. They can lie, cheat, steal, murder, kidnap us, we the people. We can bring real law. We can bring real truth into our courtrooms, but they get dismissed or ignored by the judges. So what's really going on here? And we're finding out that a lot of these judges, all these attorneys and judges did not take a binding oath to we the people. They took an oath to the corporation they serve, the position they hold, and basically to the banks, the insurance companies. These are it. They are the inferior courts. They're not judges. They're hearing officers, according to Neil Gorsuch, Supreme Court Justice. And they are adjudicating against people all day long without due process and without a trial by jury. So, and so this has been going on for a long time, because the Federal Reserve, when it started in 1933, that was the beginning of this Babylonian magic, a reset. We've gone through this many times before in our country. It's just since they control our history, which is his story. It's not our story. History is his story. Okay, whose story? It's the ones who control the education system, which is John D. Rockefeller, 1902 started the General Education Board to brainwash us to become peon workers for them, slaves. And that's what we live in, a consumer debt slavery system where there is no money. It's all IOU notes to the government. We're 30, what, 6, 7, $8 trillion in debt. Doge has been finding all kinds of fraud. And I've known about this. This has been going on forever. And I am asking for Elon Musk and Donald Trump to do DOE, the Department of Banking Efficiency.
Ooh, wait. Say that one more time.
DOE.
Elon Musk, Donald Trump, president, call to action.
Call to action. We need a Department of Banking Efficiency that goes through and audits our banks to check on certain things, like what Letitia James is doing. Obviously, that is complete fraud, but it's fraud. When you think of mortgage fraud, or the way that our news paints mortgage fraud, is that the people are committing fraud against the banks, like her, right? But really what's happening is the banks are committing fraud against the people.
Wow.
And until people understand that, we will continue to be slaves unless some miracle happens. You know, all these people get rounded up for crimes against humanity, because this banking system right now, we have on average 1 million people a year shoved out of their homes, children, veterans, elderly. And right now the elderly are being targeted by the mortgage industry. And I'm helping people that are right now. I mean, picture a mortgage being transferred 6 times or sold 6 times. And on the 6th time, the people are now elderly. They're losing their faculties, and they're in a brand new 30-year mortgage on a much higher interest rate because they can't pay their taxes. So they take out a reverse mortgage to pay their taxes. And now they can't afford their mortgage, the new mortgage. Because back when they were saving, they were making $5 an hour, $8 an hour.
Yeah.
And they did what they could to pay off their mortgage and so that they would have a nest egg to live off of for the rest of their lives. But that's not happening. And it is crimes against humanity for the banks to go after people on these fraudulent contracts when they provided nothing. And the banking laws and security exchange laws require that banks provide consideration on all loans. And in 1969, Jerome Daley, he was a lawyer, challenged his bank. And it was Mr. Morgan, who was the bank president, admitted on the record that there was no money that funded his loan. And so he won. That Jerome Daley won. Anybody can go look up that case. That was in 1969. And that was and a lot has come out since then. But it goes back to the magic money machines. The banks on this mortgage fraud, when you go in and you fill out an application for a loan, they want to check your credit. That credit is a double meaning, because we all have a credit and trust, and they want to make sure that you have enough credit in your trust to take this loan out. And that, you know, so a lot of people look at credit as a kind of like a score, right? But they're really looking at to see, you know, how much credit, do you have enough credit to fund this loan? And if you do, then what they do is they have you sign a promissory note. You sign it, one signature, one autograph. And in any binding contract or any lawful or legal contract, there must be 2 signatures. But on a promissory note, there's only one. Why? Because it is a securitized instrument. It's like a check. So you know, people, they sign it like a check. The bank says, thank you very much. You're going to be in that home soon. And they go to the Federal Reserve and they say, hey, Mr. Federal Reserve, here's this note. And then the Federal Reserve says, great. They take the note, which has the original signature on it. You'll never see that again. The requirement is they get that original. Okay, so they can keep a color copy, but they won't keep their original. It gets sold to the Federal Reserve for an equal exchange of credits. So it's a swapping of this note for these credits. the credits get transferred via wire transfer into the bank account of the man or woman who is taking the loan. So they're either putting it into their bank account or they're opening up a bank account in their name. Once they receive those credits in your bank account, because it's you originated those credits, then all they do is they push buttons, they do a wire transfer to the title company, and the title company pays the seller. So the question then becomes, who funded the loan? Who funded it? Did the bank fund the loan? And if bank laws require consideration, what consideration did the bank give if they didn't give a penny? Who actually funded it? Who actually funded it was you. Your signature funded the entire loan. Okay? So the bank is just a servicer. And so a servicer to me, it's like, look, you did a service, you should get paid $2,500, $3,000, $5,000, whatever the fee is, right? They should get something for doing all the servicing, but do they own you now for 30 years, even though you paid?
It kind of feels like that sometimes.
Right. So this is a consumer debt slavery system. Well, they never fixed slavery when basically we all became slaves through our birth certificates, social securities. It all started back in the early 1900s. This whole system was thought up very brilliantly. They were going to use Hollywood and the television to paint a picture of what all of these functions are, what a policeman does, what a judge does, what a bank does. Everyone looks at a banker as just so, like they don't know. That's the problem, is it's very compartmentalized. The bank tellers don't know any of this stuff. They're just working there to make a paycheck. But if people really understand that we are slaves, that we have legislatures and Congress people and senators and judges and attorneys stomping on our God-given rights, not the constitutional rights. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as, so when people say, or even attorneys say, and I will challenge any attorney on this, when they say, I will protect your constitutional rights, their thinking is flawed. Because the Constitution doesn't give us rights. All law comes from the Bible. All of it. All law.
So good. Bombshell.
Right? All law comes from the Bible. All law is what the Muslims call God. All law. Think of it. So
that's an interesting one.
The words in our American English language were, it's a new language. It's not an original language. It was created by very evil, crafty men. Whether they're actually men or not, I don't know. But they were brilliant in this system. It was a slow drip, long-term plan to completely enslave us and to bring in this AI transhumanistic reality.
Yes.
Okay. So most people now are so civilized and nice and kind, and that's all good. I love everyone. Like, I am kind to everyone, unless they are deep state hacks looking to enslave my grandchildren.
Right.
I don't like you at all. Okay. These people, we have to use our voices and start, we need to start gaining physical and mental courage. Like Trump. Trump has physical and mental courage. He will stand in front of anyone. He will say what he needs to say, and he will do it in courage. He's been shot at. At this point, I don't really, what happens to me, it's really this, I am here because God wants me to share a message with people, and that we are a free, sovereign soul, that we are not, when Adam and Eve were created, who was their government? Right? Who started all this government stuff and all these House bills in Washington State in the middle of the night where they can tell us that it's now law that our children can get a sex change without the parent's permission. Wait a minute, is that law or is it code? It's code. It's not in the law. It has nothing to do with law. And if a code does not meet up to the law of the land, then it's void. It's cancelable. It's unenforceable.
Mm-hmm.
So what Shawn tapped into with what was going on in the background, where they were showing a house for sale for $300,000, but was finding records showing that same house selling for $3 million.
Yes.
As an example,
Mm-hmm.
that I believe what he tapped into is the trust money I was telling you about in the very beginning, because there's two sets of books going on in the background. It's the one that shows the credits, which is not real money, and then it shows the real money in the background, the millions being transferred. That money has to do with the trust. It's all done under shell corporations that are created by these deep state bankers and hacks, process servers, auctioneers, investment groups. It's happening all over the country. Like Shawn said, it's transnational. Every man and woman in this country who has a mortgage, which is a death pledge. Mort means death. Muerto means death in Spanish. Mort so it's a death pledge.
Wow. That's just crazy when you think about it. Words have power. Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is a dark magic that has been placed over our country. We have been in a spell for a long time, under the spell of the casting, of the programming, of the television. And no matter, see, people think that, oh, this channel's good and this channel, don't watch that. Listen, if it's approved television, no matter what goes on there, it's approved by them. It's still programming.
100%. Because here's what's unconsciously what's happening is you are in a hypnotic state when you're receiving this information. This is feeding the programming, feeding the unconscious mind. So we're making decisions back here. We're making agreements back here with these thoughts coming in. We don't even realize we're making those agreements.
100%. A lot of it is spoken. Because we don't understand the way the magic works is that karma won't come back to you if people are willingly complying and they're not researching it themselves. Just because you're ignorant of the law, that's your fault. So that the magic doesn't. It works, and they don't get any karma or what you sow, you shall reap, right?
Yes.
Which is the same thing. So that doesn't happen if you just are ignorant of the truth. But people are starting to wake up, especially with the pandemic that happened in 2020. I woke up in 2020 in the pandemic. I was a CEO. I was in property management for 26 years. I was considered one of the best in the country for property management. And, when I woke up, I loved property management, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm providing clean, affordable, luxury apartments for people, good customer service.
Sure, of course.
But when I woke up, it was like, oh my gosh, everyone's living in a freaking box. Oh no, everyone's living in a box because see, under Abraham Lincoln and the Homestead Act, we were all supposed to get 160 acres of land. So everyone look up the Homestead Act that Abraham Lincoln signed. I think it was 1862 before the 1871 Organic Act went into place, and that was ratified in 1878. So basically, we have right now a fake government and a whole system that we don't realize has been rolling in the background while we're all mesmerized by the television and music and sports that worships ball, right? Worships the ball.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Yeah, ball and bail.
I will tell you exactly. So the Bible says people fail or people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Yes.
So they do tell you what they're going to do through the television, through the movies. And I mean, if we look at these Super Bowls, these things that they are presenting, the Katy Perry event, all of this crazy Taylor Swift stuff, they are satanic rituals. So if we're really taking a look, we have been under a spell. They show us what they're going to do. The symbols are there. We just pass for that lack of knowledge. So it's very important that we begin to dig on in and get the understanding, because what's going to happen is we're going to fall into the pit of the ones that are deceived. And I don't want to be in that pit of the deception. And it's so amazing right now that President Trump, Doge, Kash Patel, all of them, Elon, all of them are bringing out and bringing to light what's been happening. So I know you've got to go in about 3 minutes, but before I release you, okay, connect the dots for me one more time, because we know that these fraudulent mortgages have been funding the election fraud, the voter fraud, paying off the elected officials, right? And we are talking trillions of dollars, and this is connected transnationally. So little old attorney Letitia James, who is holding Donald J. Trump to task, holding him accountable behind the scenes, like talk about perception is projection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Connect the dots for me, wrap it up in a call to action for the people.
Okay. Well, her, and not just her, but I mean, look at what did Julian Assange say, that 98% of the people in Congress and Senate, they're dirty. And again, this is a big club and we are not in it. The call to action that I am making is that we need to stop funding this beast. We need to start using our voices and at least having a conversation with our bank. Look, I'm sure you're not committing mortgage fraud, but I would like to see an original of the wet signature of my promissory note. I'd like to see that. And I would like to see the consideration that you guys paid from your coffers. How much was that? Was it the full loan? Can I just look at the wire transfer that shows that you paid the title company, not me, not my promissory note, not my credit? What did you pay? Because that is banking law, that they must provide consideration. This is why Jerome Daley in 1969 won his case, and anyone can go look that up. So people need to start standing in the truth. We're living in a world of lies with no money, but we're slaves, and they don't pay for anything and they don't insure anything. We pay for everything and insure everything while they live on the top, and we scrape and scrimp just so that our children can eat. And it's getting worse, even though we see all this winning going on the federal level and the local level. Still people getting shoved out of their homes when the banks provided nothing. This is crimes against humanity. Yeah. There's all these homeless people. Why? What's going on here with our veterans but we spent $300 billion on Zelensky.
It's a laughing matter. It's a laughing matter.
It's horrifyingly terrible that this is going on. And then our people and our veterans and our elderly and our children and people are being wheeled out on wheelchairs by our police when they're getting these court orders from crooked judges who are making money on their retirement every time they kick someone out of their home. This is happening with the judges. Their retirements are getting laced every case. So time to start standing up in the truth and start using our voices and looking at everything. Do not be ignorant of the law, because you know what? If you don't know the law, and you are ignorant, then they bank on that. Yeah. So time to get out of that. We could be a free world. We could do it way better than our government has done. So the Federal Reserve, there's nothing federal. It's a private corporation, and we're just slaves. So if you want to keep being a slave, just keep paying your mortgage, keep paying everything, and put your head down. Or think about your grandchildren. We don't want them running around starving in the streets later. So time to stand up or not stand up. And, what are you going to tell your grandchildren when they're full in 50 years from now? So.
Well said.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kim, for having me on your show. I really
Kat, An absolute honor. And I think you're going to be on Matt Gates today, Matt Gates show on OAN, which is absolutely incredible. I'm so excited that that connection was made. God is so good the way he connects all of us for such a time as this. Y'all can reach Kat at Kat Espinda, can be reached at onenewearth@pm.me. You have questions. She coaches you through it. She has an incredible program. Go check her out. Kat, God bless you. Godspeed, sister. I just love you.
I love you too, sister. God bless you.
So good, Kat. So guys, we're not done yet. I want to share something with you that I think is going to be really, really key. I want to share a little piece of Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3. And this is a piece that was done with Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor. When we're talking about the murder board, when we're talking about the 16 years of systematic corruption, this corruption like a string of pearls, all connected together. They are intertwined. That's what you're going to see. So I'm going to pull up this video right now. This is a piece of Operation Clean Sweep 2. And remember, if you have not seen Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3 with Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor and City Attorney Bryant Kroll, you've got to see it, because what you're beginning to see with the Doge exposure, with what Kash Patel is exposing, what Donald Trump is bringing into light, our great president, it is imperative that you get the details here, because I'm telling you, Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor breaks it down. They connect the dots for you, because if you don't think it's happening in your backyard, wakey, wakey, it's happening in your backyard. Let's take a John. I'm going to share my screen with you right now. And we're going to listen on in to Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor from Millersville PD. And this was in Operation Clean Sweep. And I believe the one we're going to look at right now was part 3. So let's play that, baby.
You've helped me. You've put me in contact with a lot of people as well. And some of the people that I've talked to, they're quite a bit higher on the food chain than what any of us are. And we were able to find out several months ago that we had people within the Treasury and FinCEN that were flagging information that we were pulling. And then when I was out in Vegas there, we had another gentleman come in that was a banker and attorney that was going after some of the CCP stuff that validated that there are people in FinCEN flagging this stuff, so we can't get the information through FinCEN. And that has to do with the corruption that's been happening that Doge has been finding. So, a lot of these places they've got to be cleaned out, and I mean, like, completely cleaned out. I mean, there's no room for error on this, because if we err on this, it's not going to dismantle what we need to dismantle. And when we take those little pieces of the puzzle that I was showing you guys earlier, and we plug those couple of cells in that we were showing everybody, it goes into one organism. And basically, this is what that one organism looks like. You see all of these different connections, and you're just like, how in the world could this be happening? But what you have to do is you have to take the time to reconstruct everything that you have validation on. And you got to be able to prove things. It's got to be multiple forms of validation and verification before it's entered into the chart. And what we end up finding is we have members of our judiciary that are involved in this. We have governors that are involved in this. We have district attorneys who are involved in this. We've got bankers. We've got people like Al Gore who are involved in this. We've got more bankers. We got Goldman Sachs. We got Royal Bank of Canada. We've got all the stuff that goes into the Act Blue. And I mean, it just, everything, they have built this huge infrastructure, and it's amazing because everything keeps coming back to Maricopa.
Maricopa County, Arizona.
To Maricopa are absolutely amazing. I mean, we have people in this we've got Eric Holder that's involved in this. He's one of the ones that helped represent the Tennessee Three. Justin Pearson is one of the Tennessee Three. Okay. So we have all of these things. And what people don't realize is it is all connected. This is what they have been building for many, many, many years. And we
Many
uncovered
years,
a
how
lot.
long, Shawn? When you say many, many, many years,
I am going to
how
say
long?
probably, I'm going to say, I would say the infrastructure started getting laid, back under probably Kennedy, right around the Kennedy assassination. And then it really got pushed and moved ahead with George Bush Sr., where he was talking about one world order, about a global government, about all of that, because essentially that's what we're looking at. And that's what this is. That's where you see them pushing these agendas that they're pushing, and right now what they're pushing is these homes, multifamily homes and the single family residences where they're able to move the money. Unfortunately, we're not the first to have found this. Catherine Austin Fitts found this when she worked under the Bush Senior's administration over HUD. She found where they were laundering money through HUD the exact same way, and it was going into black ops projects that were off the books, that were more than likely financing the stuff that we were seeing with Pablo Escobar.
Shawn, let's look. So where do we go from here? You have information and evidence that is coming in over and over. You have email, you've got calls. It is just expansive. And like you said, you cannot show us some of the things on here. You can't reveal some of that information. But everything that Doge is exposing, you have all the evidence of.
So where we go from here is we do stuff like the RICO cases, like Brian is putting together, and people need to understand, putting together these RICO cases, that is hundreds of hours of time, and he doesn't get paid for that. This is his time that he's not getting paid to put this stuff together. He's got things that he's got to worry about and be able to pay for, but he's standing up for everybody and filing this RICO case. He's going to be filing more RICO cases, but he doesn't get paid for that.
All right, guys, I'm telling you what you heard today with Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor is a big deal. Shawn is bringing it into the light. You got to go see this yourself. So I'm going to encourage you to go watch Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3. If you want clarity on what you're seeing with Letitia James and what she has been doing, it's been going on for a long time. Okay. She is the canary in the coal mine. Hello, wakey, guys. It's time. We, the people, get to take our power back. So today's show was really brought to you to empower you, we, the people, to take our power back. It is imperative. The exposure is coming at a very high level right now. And sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I want you to go watch Operation Clean Sweep 1, 2, and 3, because this is going to break it down for you in bite-sized pieces. That way, as the exposure comes out on that global and transnational level, you're able to see it right in your county, your city, because I'm telling you, all the dots connect. It's happening in your neck of the woods. And it's time that we stand up with our pitchforks and we say no more. We, the people, are taking our power back. We are exposing this fraud. We're going to hold our elected officials accountable, and we're going to take this country back. It's time, America. It's time to stand up. It's time to speak up, and it's time to show up. Don't shrink back. Stand up and speak up. I'm Kim Yeater with the Take Your Power Back Show. It's been a joy being with you today. And Operation Clean Sweep Mortgage Fraud with Kat Espinda, and we got to hear retired Assistant Chief Shawn Taylor. I love you guys. May God continue to bless you. May He continue to open your eyes to see the truth. And I pray that you continue to run after the truth, to seek the truth, and to be filled with the knowledge so that you are not deceived when this great deception comes about. Because let me tell you, we're the frog in the water right now. It's time to get out of the water. It's way too hot. I love you. God bless you. Join us at the takeyourpowerbackshow.com. That's takeyourpowerbackshow.com. Support all of our sponsors like patriotsbuyingamerican.com. Take your power back from the big box retailers at patriotsbuyingamerican.com. Make the switch today, guys. Take your power back. That's patriotsbuyingamerican.com. Our sponsors keep freedom alive. Make the switch to an American debt-free, patriot, family-owned manufacturer. patriotsbuyingamerican.com. Go check out a virtual tour there. I love you. God bless you. And remember this, to stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because your work of the Lord is not in vain. And remember this, he who began a good work in you will carry it out to the very end of the age. God bless. Godspeed. I'll see you on the other side. That's right. On the other side, on the other side, on the other side.
Thank you for joining us for the Take Your Power Back show. As Peak Performance Breakthrough Coach Kim Yeater speaks to other freedom-loving Americans that are making a positive impact in the world by standing in truth amid adversity. Listen in weekly and learn how to take your power back in your freedom, in your personal and professional life, in technology and creativity, and in your faith. Be encouraged, be inspired, be transformed as you step into your power and take action in your leadership and allow your voice to be heard. Together, let's take your power back. To sponsor and support the Take Your Power Back show, go to takeyourpowerbackshow.com. That's takeyourpowerbackshow.com and take your power back.